What is going on, guys? Welcome back. So today I'm going to give you some no bullshit technical analysis on COSM. So COSM already started running. I talked about that in the last video that I posted. So that one's already doing well. So maybe I'll move on to something else because I think I didn't like how it closed today, but yeah, that was a good run from what 40 cents to 57 cents. So solid move there today. I really like, I just thought this really looked like QNRX before that run. It had a very similar look, and I talked about that in the last video as well. And the MFI was really set up here, and today just kind of confirmed that technicals continued to turn up, and we saw our DMI or D plus line or DI plus line, our positive blue line here, way above the negative DI line. So that's interesting when that happens, when the blue finally gets above. And it was trading below for a long time, and sometimes the stock will pop up while that line is way below, way oversold, because the stock is generally oversold. But the stock has actually turned bullish, I would say, in this entire sequence after this move. It pulled back, and now we'll have to see this continue on and maybe potentially get some volume. But we saw our MACD start to curl today, our CCI curl up. Right in the morning really is when it started to get hits. So this was holding up well in the morning before 10. And then, volume came in, and obviously you want to have some volume alerts or have an order in or something, right? So always be prepared. I put these on your watch list or I mention these stocks because, first of all, you want to find the right stocks that can potentially run. And then second of all, you want to be prepared for when they do potentially run. So this is a good case of, this was a really bottomed out swing in general, penny play. And I really love the setup here. Again, it really reminded me of QNRX. So I'll go back and just do a little comparison. So memorize what you're seeing here, this nice shelf pulls out. And then, so this is the MFI. It shelves here above the overbought, pulls out, and then holds support, right? And then we can see those other technicals starting to curl up and our positive DI line way above our negative DI line. And on this day here, our MFI started to curl up. And so this is a beautiful pattern here if you look at this sequence. So this is interesting. So we'll go back to QNRX and we'll look for that same sequence, right? Same sort of deal here. And very similar chart. It popped here, right? Made a nice cup, and then boom, it pops. So we can see that similar shelf pulls back and then curls back up. And then your positive DI line is way above your negative DI line at this point in time, and then boom, it takes off. So that's just the technical standpoint, and then you can also talk about the MACD and your CCI and Williams percent R. So like really everything has to be in line, because honestly, price action does tell a huge story. It tells the entire story if that's the story you focus on. If you're too focused on, let's say, a certain technical indicator or a certain fundamental indicator, you're not going to see the full picture. You want a full picture, so having the technical standpoint there is important as well. And then also you kind of want your price above those moving averages. At least if you're looking for breakout plays like this, you want to see your price riding some good moving averages and popping above moving averages. So, really you want to see the price break through certain moving averages. I use the 20, 50, and 200 for baseline stuff, and then I will use the 7, the 12, the 32, the 72, and the 89 EMAs. And I'll use that on the 10-minute, I'll use it on the daily, so on and so forth. So just have like a solid price level in mind, right, when you're looking at potential targets, and understand, like, in this market at least, stocks pop up and then they can break down very quickly. So just knowing that is good. So QNRX, again, all I wanted to say was this looked very similar sequence compared to COSM. Cosmos. So, you know, it might potentially, it could have more in it. We'll have to see how this plays out. It could potentially have a after hours spike. I don't know, it's 7 o'clock already, so maybe not. Or it could have a pre-market or another bump at some point. So this one's a good one to watch. TCBP. So actually, we'll go to APCX first. So this one is definitely setting up for a nice move. I mentioned this in my first video that I created. I talked about the positive DI line potentially crossing over the negative DI line, which it managed to do today, which is a very good sign. You're seeing our MFI still trending up and our MACD starting to curl even more. And we can see the prices kind of battling with some moving averages. Now it appears that we did close at 0.6686. So we did close above the, what are we looking at here? I haven't looked at my MAs in a long time. We've got the 8 to 12. I don't know why my EMAs aren't really showing up here. Yeah, so it closed, if we're looking at, I think that's a 20. Yeah, that's definitely the 20. So the price closed above the blue line here, which would have been around 63.50, which is our 20-day moving average. And then it also closed above our 8-day moving average and 12-day moving average. So I do like what I'm seeing here in terms of, you know, building a solid trend. I think this will have a good continuation. It's done so in the past, and in my opinion, it's been pretty bottomed out. If you look at the weekly chart as well, yeah, I mean, when I look at this, I see, first of all, I see a good discount. If you really look deeply into the 10Q for this company, they're very well off and they have a really solid balance sheet, tons of cash on hand, no risk of dilution. So this is a bottom play that is going to be on watch for a while for me. And it's one that can have those solid long-term continuations. It's just one of those plays. So this is why I kind of added this a few days ago. I talked about this on Friday, I believe. I was adding all last week. Yeah, I mean, I love the setup. We got our bullish PSAR. I talked about that as well. If you remember, I said there's a little bit of pressure coming down here from our negative PSAR indicator, these red dots. We finally got a bullish PSAR signal here, and we closed above the 20-day moving average. So I actually like how we're setting up here. And on the weekly chart, again, I think it's fairly bottomed out, and you know, we'll have to see some volume to really see a good continuation. Up 13% today, so we're already green on this trade. And then we've got obviously our positive DI line crossing over our negative DI line, which should trigger a bullish trend. Got our MACD positive. So all the indicators are really in line here. And I would argue that this hasn't really broken out per se. We didn't get a ton of volume come in today, less than 200,000. So I think there's going to be a solid continuation for APCX. And we can see, I mean, we closed really strong here as well. So beautiful trend setting up here. Yeah, I mean, this was an obvious one for me. That's why I put it on your guys' radar as the #1 play. Yeah, really obvious looking play. And again, I talked about, if you want to know my thought process before this moved, go back to my first video and you will hear exactly what I thought about that, and the technicals and potentially where the stock would be headed, right? So solid move today. I know some of our guys in the dojo are loaded up, so I'm happy about that. This is one of my largest positions. So moving on to TCBP. Another one that's setting up from bottom, kind of curling up out of the basement here, as Dougie Fresh Picks says quite often. So this is something, you know, MACD is still curling positive. When I look at DMI like this, or positive DI line and negative DI line setting up like this, personally I see a big gapper. I see a gapping move. It really reminds me of IINN. So I think we'll get some news very soon. So my thoughts really haven't changed on this. It just had a nice little bump today, and I managed to snag a little bit more. You know, I'm not trying to ruin my 36.5 average, but I did add a little bit more today because it held up really well yesterday. Yeah, I like how it's setting up right now. So not much else to say. I'm just looking for a PR, looking for some news or a bigger move because I'm not going to sell under 40. There's no way. I'm going to be selling this probably 60, 80 cents or higher. So that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm going to wait for. All right, and then moving on to RVSN. So this one pulled back just a bit. We've got a negative PSAR signal. I don't know if that's going to last very long because to me the chart has been bottomed out for a bit. But I do want to see our positive DI line start to trend above our negative DI line. I want to see that tight Bollinger Band, the bottom Bollinger Band holds as support, that 78 cent slash 77.5 level. I don't think they're going to let this drop more, but it could potentially. So we'll have to see how this plays out. Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to see. I mean, definitely manage your risk. But I still like this for a nice bottom play. If you look at the weekly chart, to me it's still bottom, so I'm kind of focused on a longer term perspective. And I think we have a lockup expiration. Let's see, I think it's in September. I think it's the 27th of September. Yeah, so I would look forward to that. I would look forward to some sort of material news here, and I would slowly, if you are interested in this play, slowly add on the dips only. And just be smart about averaging in because I think it still probably has to consolidate for a bit. But again, the bands are getting really tight here, so it's going to go either way, right? Like understand that this is going to go either way really fast. So you either position for a trade to the upside or you position to a trade to the downside. In my opinion, the odds are in favor of this the price going up just by looking at the weekly chart. So that's my thoughts on that. LIXT, I'm liking. I talked about this one on StockTwits a little bit. I never really took a position here. A little bit busy today. Yeah, I never took a position here, but I like how it's setting up. Definitely reminds me of Lex a little bit. If you looked at Lex, the last, just the way it moves, the price action personality to me looks very similar. I do a lot of comparisons, so sometimes they aren't right, but you know, comparisons kind of help me either position for the trade or understand what's actually happening. So it doesn't hurt to compare one stock to the other and try and find a similar pattern. But yeah, this one's setting up nicely. Yeah, I think that's about it. I feel like this video is dragging on. I like how RETO's setting up as well. I'm in this one from 72 cents. So I got in around, or I think my average is like 73. Yeah, I got in right here. So I'm sitting at like 72.5 or 73, just waiting for this one to run. We've got a negative P star signal here, but I'm not sure that's gonna last. The chart is still really bullish here. If you look at our positive DI lines, it's making those higher lows. So if we can confirm the higher low for RETO, I think we'll see some continuation to this pattern. Potentially, you know, a third leg up. That could be a much bigger move. And you know, personally, I've been waiting for some news on RETO. So I really like how this is setting up. It's one of my largest positions as well. So APCX and RETO are one of my largest positions, or two of my largest positions, is what I meant to say. Yeah, I like how it's setting up. It's still above the moving averages as well. I don't mind this candle today. There wasn't a ton of volume to really confirm anything. So just still watching it. I like that it's holding up for my average, right? Like that's ideal. Like I did get in back 72.5, so technicals look good to me. I just want to see, you know, some volume continuation. Confirm this support level at 75 cents, right? and potential continuation or news. So yeah, so I'm liking this first swing still. I'm still holding for those interested. Yeah, I think that's all I'm going to talk about for today. So the ones I mentioned, they're still really, I think they're still setting up for bigger moves, honestly. Just in my experience. Yeah, TCBP is just super bottomed here. Definitely reminding me of AREB, like I mentioned in the last video. Very beat down recent IPO. And then APCX, a very undervalued stock based on their 10Q. Yeah, so I mean, I like how these stocks are setting up, and looking forward to the next few sessions. All right, guys, take care.